Still trying to figure out what happened on Sunday with the 49ers because they just did not look like themselves. Me and Weston are going to talk about some of what happened in this game, what went wrong, and some of the latest injury updates on today's 49K Pod.
You're listening to the 49 Carats podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Monday, October 27th, spooky season. Yeah. And what we saw on Sunday was quite scary from the 49ers standpoint because it didn't look quite right throughout that game. But we're going to talk about it. Monday co-host, Weston, how you doing?
I think I'm in the same boat as everybody else. Like, pinch me. Did that really happen? Or, you know me, Steph, I always try to find a silver lining. So I'm good, right? Just football. We're blessed. We get another opportunity to talk about the team that we love and covet so much and get to do it together and have some fun. But what's crazy to me is as bad as that game went for the San Francisco 49ers, there were still opportunities for them to actually win the football game, which is crazy, right? Like it could not have gone any worse for them, especially in the first half. And yet it was still a ball game. It's still, to me, even though it's going to show you what, 11-point loss, still to me was much, at times much closer than that. At times it felt so distant. It was just a really weird game, but towards the end, it's a stop here, a play there, and it could be a totally different outcome. And we're a little bit more cheerful on Monday than the both of us are right now.
And quite honestly, I do feel like a lot of it had to do with it being an early body clock game. I mean, It's pretty often the 49ers just don't look like themselves in those games. I mean, I could look back at performances from the last few years where even when they're favored, and they're the better team, like they just come out looking flat and the other team ends up looking good against, so I'm hoping it's that, but I also fear, Weston, that it's these injuries are just maybe starting to pile up a little too much on the defensive side of the ball.
Simple math equation in this particular game is it's getting to the point where it's insurmountable, right? And we talked about players believing in the next man up mentality and seizing their opportunity. Even they're tired of it. You know what I mean? Like when you're looking around and you're seeing your teammates go down and you're like, oh, not another one. Oh, not another one. Oh, not another one. And to players that need to be making an impact to even be in that particular week's game. I mean, that's where we are as a team right now. Like we're like week to week. I don't know if there's a long-term outlook versus a short-term outlook. It's week to week, but I think they're at the point where the scales have tipped. Like they need bodies back. Bodies cannot continue to vacate the field.
Well, the 49ers don't have any pass rush at the moment, and I think that's kind of what's hurting them most. I mean, without Bryce Huff, it was clear that even with blitzing, they couldn't get to Stroud. And credit to Stroud because he did great under pressure and in those blitzes. When he was blitzed, he was 11 of 13 for 90 yards, passer rating of 121.2. He had the answers, and the 49ers defense seemed to not have any. In fact, 49ers defense looked lost much of this game. And it's becoming evident that you have a lot of youth. You have a lot of youth playing out there and they're making mistakes. There's communication issues. There's just misunderstandings on the field of where guys need to be and who gets what assignment, when the bullets start flying and all that, right? And we see that. So I think we're just going to have to continue to work through that. And, it's kind of like what Robert Saleh said towards the beginning of the season, right? It's like, it's going to be a roller coaster. Strap in, it's like, that's what we're seeing right now. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah. And it depends on how you want to look at it, right? Like it could be like a lot of fun going into a Sunday with no expectations. Like just, hey, I just want to watch my team. If they win, great. If they lose, there's 100 excuses that we can justify as to why they're losing right now, right? We're talking about right now, not what they should have done in the offseason or what they can do offseason. You and I, like, we are reactionary on Mondays as to like what just happened. So that's what we focus on is the here and now. So, but it's gonna be bumps and bruises. To your point, they really look young. Wow, they look really inexperienced. Obviously, with every week that passes, I think the absence of Fred Warner specifically is going to loom very large. From look, Salah, we dub him this like defensive like genius. And to keep that, he's going to have to introduce new things into the equation, right? We saw a lot of blitzing from the 49ers yesterday, in my opinion, and trying to manufacture pressure in some capacity. That's probably going to have to continue, which leaves a lot of these young guys out on the island, specifically in the middle of the field, new assignments, things they've never seen before. The veteran leadership and the absence of it is going to be a huge problem. Like, I know they still have Demo, a defensive captain out there, but like, he's not the position that, like, he plays corner, he plays one side of the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's not moving around like a lot of these other guys and flipping with each other like linebackers and following backs out of the backfield and tight ends as they're in motion and blah, 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 like fill in the blanks. And I think it's important. That's an important distinction because you see a lot of people getting down on like the investment on the defensive side and like the production that you're getting from some of these players. And I think the context is lost that like what they're all being asked to do right now was never the primary plan when they were drafted, right? Like they've gone from, Michael Williams being a plus side projection type draft pick that has a lot of like skill, but certainly still has to develop in the game. He's now being asked to be like an every down defensive lineman. Never the game plan, right? Like he was going to be surrounded by pass rushers and be complimentary as he got up to speed. And the same could be said for every person thereafter, in terms of just like, it's hard to expect production from these guys that have such limited time on the field when they have no complementary pieces around them other than their fellow rookies.
Yeah, I mean, we've even seen a season where it was Nick Bosa and that was it, really, on the defensive line, and he didn't do too much that season. Why? Because there wasn't anyone to complement him, and you can just double team him. I did see Michael getting double teamed, a couple times in this game as well. So you need somebody. You need bodies. They're missing Bryce Huff, obviously missing Yecha Gross-Matos as well. I do still think they should make a trade, maybe a day 3 guy just to get someone else in this rotation since you're down bodies right now. Yeah. I'm done with thinking that they should invest heavily in this year's team. I think just going with, what our expectations were at the beginning of the season, kind of like what you were saying, like our expectations then weren't too high. Let's just enjoy watching this team. But in order to enjoy watching this team and in order for this defense to grow, like you do have to have some complementary pieces. There's no compliments on that defensive line as it stands right now. So be nice to get someone.
I think the other funny thing to me, Steph, is like the beginning of the year when the schedule's released and you looked at the schedule, I still think at this point in the season I had the 49ers at 5-3. Just not this way. You know what I mean? I never could have dreamed up this scenario, but the Texans were a totally different team on paper than they've been to this point. Always thought that was going to be a tough challenge on the road in a 1:00 time slot. Again, when you just look at what's in front of you in paper, thought they'd lose against Seattle on the road week 1. I thought that was going to be tough for them. And I thought they were going to lose an away Thursday night game against the Rams, right? They haven't big brothered the Rams in a while. Like I thought those were going to be the 3 losses at this point, and we'd see this team
Yeah.
at 5-3. They're 5-3, just shaping up differently. I think the conversation now becomes, what does the 49ers brass do about it, right? Like, you can talk all we want about the veteran window closing with some of these highly paid veterans, and that's not inaccurate to say. Earlier, a couple weeks ago, you might have said now or never, like double down. But now it's like, is that even responsible? You know what I mean? Like, how good? Jesus, Myles Garrett had 5 sacks yesterday in his game. You could bring him over right now, and I'm not sure that moves the needle. Like, I know it does, but I'm not sure enough to warrant.
Yeah, it doesn't
you know
make
what I
them
mean?
a Super Bowl team.
Yeah. I think that's my point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's why I think, hey, old 49er fans like me are pissed off. It's been a really long time since I've seen a Super Bowl win from this football team, right? Like, I'm mad and upset because it's like you get so close and so far, but it's also like, wow, I think I get to watch football right now with like no expectations. Like, I'll be really disappointed when they lose a football game, and I'll be really elated if they can string a couple wins together. But like, for the first time in a long time, I'm going to turn on the TV, and I felt this way yesterday. Like, I don't know how this game is going to turn out. You know what I mean? Where usually you have a hard fought conviction in either direction. We're definitely going to win or we're definitely going to lose. Where now it's like, I don't know. Like, which version is going to show up?
Well, it's funny because when they played the Falcons, I thought, like, okay, they'll definitely lose that game.
Yep.
You know, first game without Fred, and they surprised me. So I think I went into this game a little more optimistic, right? Just given the performance of the previous week, and, you know, the Texans offense reeling as it had been. They missing 2 of their top wide receivers. So I thought, okay, they could do it again. They could look good. But that just goes to show it is going to be a roller coaster. Probably you're not going to see the same team week in and week out, especially for the defense, who we keep saying, like, there's the youth there. Speaking of, you know, Marquez Siegel, the rookie who had started 5 games at safety for the 49ers this season, didn't have any snaps yesterday. And you recall, you know, Robert Saleh did talk about there being an open competition there a couple weeks ago, with the only sure spot being for Malik Mustafa. And it was really between Jair Brown and Siegel who would get that spot. Well, it seems like they've made the decision that it's going to be Jair Brown. I know a lot of people weren't happy with Jair Brown's performance yesterday. Here's what I'll say about him. He's not very good in coverage, but I don't think any of these safeties are.
No.
they're not.
They're not.
And that's what's so confusing about. I like the Marquez Siegel pick, but there was some overlap with the other safeties you already had on the roster. Yeah. You need a coverage safety, and they just, like, that's not the direction they went in. And Jair Brown had a couple of nice run stops, you know, but aside from that, I'd be curious to know what, you know, someone like Robert Saleh thought about his performance. But all in all, like, this is what you're gonna get. It looks like going forward. It seems like they like Jair Brown.
I too have liked Jair Brown, right? And I think I was like, he plays better in the box. He's got a little bit better instinct. He's a liability in coverage. I think especially yesterday, I thought like his effort was lacking on certain plays. Notably that one big screen pass, or the pass out in the flat to, I think it was Willie Marks early in the game that went. It just felt like he wasn't even bothering to pursue this individual, even though it wasn't his busted coverage, not his assignment, but he was close enough to at least chase down. And it was kind of like he was slow, like thinking somebody else was there. And then when they showed the different camera angle, like, there ain't a 49er player in sight. Like, you just got to make an effort in some capacity. But I agree with you. I think the big detriment to the back end of this defense right now is that these safeties couldn't catch a cold. Like, they just could not. They can't cover right now. Like, I don't know if it's just not understanding the assignment, over pursuing on play fakes, but the lack of being able to cover the middle of the field or even the deep
Yeah.
thirds has been perplexing to say the least.
It's going to continue to be a
Yeah,
concern for me, especially as we mentioned, the state of this 49ers defensive line, lack of a pass rush. That's not going to help the secondary at all either. But it just seemed like too often you're seeing Texans wide receivers just wide open,
yeah.
wide open. It was insane. But listen, I think as far as the defense goes, I can understand with the youth why they didn't look perfect, although I did expect that they were going to look better
Yeah.
because I did actually expect the offense to struggle in this game, given the fact that the Texans have the top defense in the league. And, let's face it, this offense right now with who they have available, no Ricky Pearsall, no Brock Purdy, it's some patchwork right now. So were you surprised at all by the offensive performance and, the offense falling flat, even with, having George Kittle and back another week?
Not really. I think it's been talked about for a couple weeks now, just how good this Texan defense actually can be, right? Especially on the defensive line. So styles make fights. Stylistically, I thought defensively, even coming in, they outmatched our offense. I think my biggest surprise is just how the defense played in as a collectively, like over the course of the entire game.
Yeah.
I thought I think just given the injuries, everything else, that they would, pitch shutouts in the half or something along those lines? No, but I thought they'd be able to make a stop. And by a stop, I mean like just forcing the punt, I mean, Jesus, they went through the coach's scripted first 15 on the first drive. Like that's how many
Yeah.
plays they run.
That was
And
crazy.
even then, right? You're talking about held to field goal, held to
Yeah, it
field
was a
goal.
win.
Yeah, and the off consecutively, right? 2 consecutive field goals on their first 2 possessions that were long drives, one of which started deep in their own territory. But then it was just like I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that the offense struggled. I was surprised they struggled as much as they did, and a lot of it was self-inflicted, dumb penalties, drops, things that make a team look bad, where maybe the defense looks a little different down the stretch if they're not on the field for literally the entire first half of the football game. You know what I mean? Like you get a first down here, a first down there. I mean, I'm not trying to put this on Jawan Jennings, but when Max scrambles for a first
Yeah,
down,
that
there's a
one
big
was
time holding ball, a holding call, like that
that was
hurts.
infuriating.
Yeah, like that hurts. Even if you do nothing with that, and other than, well, think about it logically. You get that first down. Maybe now you turn around, you can hand it to Christian McCaffrey on first down, right? Like, and maybe that picks up a chunk, and maybe that leads to another first down and another, and maybe that leads to 5-minute time of possession, even if it equates to 0 points, that allows your young defense not just to rest, but to like congregate on the sideline and figure out what the hell they're seeing and what's going on. Like, I don't even think they had the time to be coached on the sideline mid-game, which is what this defense is going to require.
Jennings has been a huge disappointment this
Sure.
season. And having the opportunity, as far as like when he's come back from his injury, having the opportunity to kind of retake that role again of wide receiver one since Ricky Pearsall has been out and just hasn't been able to do it. And the 49ers desperately need someone, a wide receiver other than Christian McCaffrey, like to get something going. You've had a couple, big games from Kendrick Bourne. He's disappeared the last 2. So yeah, I don't know. And obviously, Mac Jones, I think we're hitting the wall with Mac Jones. And just how defenses prepare for him. He's not good under pressure. And I get it. This is going to be his toughest matchup of the season. I think the Giants, while they do have a good defensive line as a whole, aren't the Texans, defensively, or some of the other teams the 49ers have faced. But yeah, I mean, there's tape on Mac as QB1 of the 49ers. I just think teams are starting to prepare for that a little bit more. So you're not seeing the same type of performances from Mac Jones as you did in the first couple of starts that he had.
Yeah, honestly, I thought Mac actually, given the circumstances, I thought he played pretty damn well yesterday, actually. I mean, a lot to love about his touch of the football. Like, he puts the ball in spots. Like, the 49ers receivers did him zero favors, right? Like zero
when
favors.
Jennings dropped that pass.
I mean, he dropped his slant early in the game, and I know that was fitted in there, but smacked him right in his hands. He dropped that deep ball, which was like pretty. I mean, Watkins, that's a drop to me. You know what I mean? It hit him in his palms, not his fingertips. Yes, he was fully outstretched, but it hit you in the palms. That's a drop. A couple nice ones where he fit the ball real well in spots. Even thought the interception wasn't his best throw, but it wasn't a terrible throw. I just think that was a poor effort by the wide receiver to come back to the football, or who had full line of sight to it, or stop and undercut. I think a better play could have been made there. But I do agree, like, the more tape there is, the less he's going to catch you by surprise. And it's simple. Just take advantage of the porous play of the offensive line, and you're going to get pressure on this guy. And he's not that guy. Like, he can't elude it like CJ Stroud did in moments when there was pressure yesterday, or like Brock Purdy might be capable of doing, if his toe is healthy and what we've seen him do in the past. But in no way, shape, or form do I blame this loss on Mac Jones' play yesterday. And I'm not saying you all either. I'm just saying
absolutely
that
not.
If this is maxed out, it's actually still good enough to win if the players around you make plays too.
Mac maxed out. We got a super chat from Foot, who has a rebuttal here. Got to disagree with the Mac take. Love it. He was sacked twice, and the reason it wasn't more is because he got the ball out fast and accurate, dropped the balls 100. Purdy wouldn't have been any better. To the last point, that would the 49ers, would they have won if Purdy played this game? I don't think so. Like, I think as a whole, this team played horribly yesterday.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered if Purdy was the quarterback. I do agree with that. I do think you would have gotten some scrambles out of Purdy. That doesn't necessarily mean that they'd be successful plays, but you could extend a play here and there. I've no doubt Brock Purdy could have just as well thrown an interception just like Mac Jones did. And I do appreciate Mac Jones does get the ball out quick. That's something that Brock Purdy in the last season and a half has not done, and we miss that about him. Ultimately I don't think it would have mattered, but I just want to see some spark out of this offense a little bit more, and just not seeing it. Hopefully we can chalk this up to it just being the Texans defense is just that good, because hey, the one drive that the 49ers put together with the Kittle touchdown, that was a hell of a drive from Kyle Shanahan, Mac Jones. They're moved the ball almost at will. So if they could do that, then next week should come a little bit easier to move the ball when you're not playing this Texans defense. That would be our hope. But yeah, I don't think Purdy wins this game either. Just all three phases just were not good enough for that.
I don't think Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson under center is winning this game. When I don't want to put this solely on the I think there's a number of reasons why the defense didn't play well, but at the end of the day, you chalk it up to your defense was unable to get a stop when it mattered. The one stop they got didn't matter, and they botched that anyway, where it could have been at least turned into a potential attempt at 3 points, and they got their first interception as a defense for the year. It just, nothing else was going right. And then usually in those moments, good teams will find a way to get a stop, to get a solid drive. Yeah. And they just didn't have it. They just literally didn't have it. And you were mentioning the Giants. It doesn't get any easier for the 49ers this week. A good defensive line versus a bad offensive line, and an insanely mobile quarterback who
Yes.
the 49ers have always struggled with in the past. It's going to be tough sledding against another team whose record tells you that we should beat them. We'll find
Yeah,
out.
no, they're surging, right? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
the one benefit to the Niners is that you're not going to be facing Cam Scadaboo, who,
yeah.
unfortunately went down with
Take
his
your
injury,
will.
had surgery. Love Scadaboo. Really wanted to see him in this game. We're not going to see that. But I like Jackson Dart too. I think he's a very dynamic player who, I mean, he looks legit. He looks legit. He can hurt you with his legs, like you said, and that's going to be the challenge for the 49ers this week. Um, the one benefit is that, again, it might just be a little more how should I say, one dimensional, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what their run game is going to look like. Although I wasn't expecting the Texans to have much of a run game, but Woody Marks, had some big plays, especially the pass that he caught for 50 yards, just snuck right out of there. No one was around him for that one. Again, infuriating stuff from both sides of the ball for the 49ers. But as we talk about injuries, let's take a look at the 49ers. This should say post week 8. Apologies. Post week 8 injury updates for the 49ers as Kyle Shanahan spoke with the media today. So we got Sam Okwanu with an ankle injury, Jordan Elliott, ankle injury, D. Winters, knee injury, Alfred Collins, shoulder, Mac Jones, knee contusion. All those happened yesterday. All those guys are day to day, which is a positive. Like, that day to day
That means a
with this
season to
49ers
me,
team.
where they speak.
With this 49ers team, day to day is a positive, means they have a chance to play on Sunday. Of course, they'll be evaluated throughout the week. As far as Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan was asked if he could play on Sunday. He said it's too early to say, but pretty much wouldn't rule it out quite yet. And they'll see how he looks in Wednesday's practice. Kind of the same deal for Ricky Pearsall with this knee injury. They're going to see how he looks Wednesday, see if he could practice at all. But as of right now, a little non-committal on Pearsall, so we'll see. Bryce Huff and Jake Brendel, both with hamstring injuries, both pretty unlikely to return this week. Now, if you do recall, when those injuries happened last week, Kyle Shanahan did say 2 weeks. So this is in line with what Kyle had said about those two, Huff and Brendel. So maybe another week of Matt Hennessy at center and another week of no pass rush for the 49ers. And Ben Barch, who's been on IR, he had his practice window opened, and it's 21-day window, so they'll want to ramp him up a bit. But I mean, that's positive news if you haven't been impressed with Connor Colby as much, but at least he's getting experience out there, right?
I mean, again, silver lining in the cloud here is all these rookies are getting time. And on the Purdy scenario, I'm at the point now where, like, unless you can start the work week or the practice week with he's playing this weekend, it should always be he's not playing this weekend. Not hey, we'll see, too early to tell this week. Like, I think you've already protected your asset. You must continue to do such. I think you have to trot Mac Jones out there until this poor man literally can't get himself off the turf. And I think we're rapidly approaching that point. I mean, he's taken a pounding week in and week out. I mean, I feel like every time he's reaching down for a knee, when he hits the ground. But I think that's what you have to until you can confidently say, like, start of the week, nope, this is the week, Brock, barring some unforeseen setback throughout practice this week, like, he's coming back out as a starter this weekend. Until you're there, like, don't even play this game. Just like, hey, out until further notice,
Well, I think it sort of speaks to the nature of this injury that it's been very hard to predict just where Purdy's at. It kind of seems like it is sort of a day-to-day thing or a week-to-week thing with Purdy, where I do feel like he probably did aggravate it in that game against, was it the Jags, the one he played in? And I don't think that helped. It's just it feels like it's very up and down, and you never know how you're
Yeah.
going to feel that given day. So hard to gauge, I think, from the 49ers standpoint. But I agree. I mean, this was a similar situation to where they were ahead of that week 4 game against the Jags, where you had both quarterbacks hurt. And I felt like at the time, because Brock Purdy felt quote unquote good enough that
Yep.
and Mac Jones was dealing with an injury and he was a little more banged up, they kind of just had to roll with Purdy, and didn't work out. I mean, now he's been out for how many games? So yeah, I'd love for us to be sure that he's at or very close to 100% when he goes out there. I don't know when we'll have that luxury. But in the meantime, I mean, Mac Jones has been serviceable for sure.
For sure. But I think with Brock, it's got to be, you know, we have a comment here about like, you know, Adrian Martinez starting
Oh,
before the
God.
end of the year. Honestly, if that means Brock is not healthy enough to be out there, then that's what it's got to be. You know what I mean? Like you kind of like dug your grave at this point with protecting him, regardless of how anybody feels about paying him. He's been paid, right? And like you do have to protect the asset or the player for the future. Otherwise, you're having the same conversation every single week for the duration of this contract of like never letting him heal, never letting him get a chance to be healthy. And of course, he's never going to live up to the expectations. That's just reality, you know, like it's hard enough to live up to those contract expectations healthy, let alone unhealthy.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're at that time of the show, Weston, where
Yeah.
we have to kind of pull our teeth to nominate a 49K player of the week. We're going to try to find some silver lining from this game on Sunday. And Weston, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Who you got first?
All right. I'm going to preface this with, look, I don't think there was anybody in my eyes that was like stand out or popped off the tape. That's not to say that I don't think people had moments, right? I think Malik Mustafa had a few moments. I do think Jair Brown had a moment or two. I think each of the defensive linemen had a flash in the pan. Obviously, you know, Kittle with some catches. But for me, the one who's the most consistent from start to finish in this game, and this will blow your mind, is Saran Neal on special teams.
Oh.
That is my 49 player of the week.
Deep cut.
Multiple special team tackles. Always the first one down there, actually covered one of them and downed it inside the 10-yard line, and he's the first one down there. I honestly, like, Steph, this is not even like to try to be funny or make light of the scenario. Special teams has been the Achilles heel of this team for a long, long time. And all units actually look pretty good, especially the kickoff coverage and punt coverage teams, which are usually the ones that shoot us in the foot, giving up big plays. Saran Neal was down there, and he was making plays, and he was making tackles, covering the punt. That's how I feel about this football game that I watched on Sunday.
Hey.
That's my guy.
Fair. You know, yesterday I was actually thinking about this, and I was like, I think I have to go with the punter this week because he was very busy.
Yeah.
He was very busy. Probably got the most action of any player on Sunday. But Siren Neal, I did notice a few plays the week prior. You know, we were talking about Malik Turner and special teams. And Siren Neal, Malik Turner wasn't active for this game, but Siren Neal was, and you know, he made a mark. And how the tides have turned, I guess, for the 49ers, that, you know, special teams is actually a positive that we're talking about. I would even go as far as saying, and you know what, I'm going to hold that thought and I'm going to save it for Flowers.
Okay.
But just wild. I will actually nominate Thomas Morstead. Actually,
All
I'm
right.
thinking about it. Five punts, an average of 47.6. 3 of those inside the 20. I mean, hey,
did his job.
Did his job more than we could say about some other guys.
Look, there's 3 phases of the football game. The only one that we outperformed the opponent in was special teams. Like that's literally it.
That's it.
And that's not a recipe for
That
winning
is
football games.
crazy. Well, these special teams guys don't get their flowers all too often. So if they're ever gonna get it, it's gonna be in a game like this. So why not, right?
Yep.
Why not? Okay, I'm gonna go with did you have another Weston?
I do not. That is
Okay. So
Ron Neal is my guy this week.
So I'm gonna throw in the one that I thought about when I, was thinking through it today. And this is the one, Weston, that before we went live, I was like, this is a stretch. But I'm gonna preface this with saying that I think this player should have gotten the ball more because he's that freaking good. And it's George Kittle. I
Of course
mean,
it is.
4 catches, 43 yards, the touchdown that he caught. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Between 3 defenders there was one Texas defender who really thought that was an interception coming his way. Yeah, he really thought, but Kittle his adjustment to the ball, his control, typical George Kittle play, especially in the end zone, like just this money all day. I would have loved to see more involvement out of him in this game. Again, credit to the Texans defense. I'm sure there was a reason he didn't get the ball as much, but I think you need to go forward with having your game plan revolve around Kittle. And I get, he's also still ramping up to football shape. Maybe that's part of it, but we got to get him the ball more. People are forgetting how good he is.
Yeah, and it was National Tight Ends Day. Like,
exactly.
What better day to reward the man than on the day that the holiday that he literally created out of thin air is like, and that's all you hear about in every broadcast, in every game, National Tight Ends Day. Look, he hasn't played football in a while, right? Like he never really got fully ramped up and up to speed this season. And I understand you're bringing him back in, but in a game like that, where early you just desperately needed a first down to catch your breath, it is. Now, look, I don't want to say Kyle didn't dial anything up for him. More plays were blown up because of pressure than were not blown up because of pressure. I'm sure it was there. If we're calling it out, I'm sure Kyle Shanahan on the sideline could see it firsthand. But yeah, you'd love to see him get more involved. I think he was intended to have a second touchdown in this game.
Yeah, you thought that one was going to him, the Tundras one. I do think Mac meant to throw it to Tundras and just take the pass that was a little closer.
I think so too, but there's no in drawing up plays, there's no scenario that those two players are that close to one another on a bootleg. You know what I mean? Like that's not supposed to happen. One of them was wrong, and I'm going to guess it wasn't George Kittle. I'm just going to say no knock on Tunges. And then I thought maybe he really did steal because Mac had some zip on that ball too. Like it needed to get back there in a hurry, and Tunges was like just kind of like plucked it out. But thankfully he did because I don't think that had the right trajectory to get to Kittle without being picked or at least deflected. But yeah, like George, based on who is available in this offense, he has now had 2 weeks, right, to get into football shape. A team that you're playing this week, good defensive line, could use improvement in the back half of the defense or in the back seven. It should be a George Kittle eat day, but we'll see if the offensive line holds up.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, again, just got to get him involved. Shout out Jake Tunges too. Yeah, I like what he's doing out there as a pass catcher. That's more than we've had from a TE2 from that standpoint in years. I don't know how long. So that's been a welcome change. I like both of them being on the field and both of them running routes at the same time. Hopefully we see that more going forward. And hopefully this time Tunges runs the correct route. But it got him a touchdown in any case. All right, Weston, we've got our 3 nominees. Oh 3 nominees for 49K Player of the Week. 2 of them special teams, Siren Neal, Thomas Morstead, and of course we got George Kittle on here too. Guys, get your votes.
I mean,
Not all at once.
Yeah. Like, you can't look at that screen and for even a single second, like, 49ers won the game this week if you didn't see the outcome, you know what I
True,
mean?
a true state of,
Yeah.
state of the 49ers type of.
It was hard because, like, again, I think a lot of players, more than 10, had flashy splash plays in moments, right? Like, Jair Brown had an awesome fit down near like in our own territory where he just filled that gap.
Yeah, he had 2 good run plays, yeah.
Mustafa was in the backfield quite a bit, Upton Stout made some splash plays, at least getting to the quarterback. And Jesus, I mean, they even commented how he almost took the snap, right? Like in a shotgun snap. That's how well he timed it up. But the truth is like, nobody played a complete game. From an evaluation standpoint, nobody had a complete game.
Yeah, it's always tough. And that's usually the case, when we do these shows after a loss, and it's slim pickings, but that's what we have to work with. But we stay true to the bit, like,
for sure.
We always, no matter what, nominate a 49K player of the week.
Listen,
all right.
Some of these guys, Saron Neal, special teamers, like, they're auditioning every snap, right, to get opportunities that aren't just special team opportunities. And so they need to be recognized too.
Hey, respect Thomas Morstead, pal.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And Siren Neal, the special teams, had some plays. When can we say that, right? All right. So who do you have, Weston? Who's your vote?
I'm sticking with Saron Neal. I'm sticking with the guy that I nominated. I think based on the way this season's going, any improvement from the special teams is like required to be competitive in these games,
Yeah. Pleasantly surprised because if you recall, I'm sure we all do, beginning of the season, special teams still looked awful. But in the last 2-3 games, I'd say they've turned that around. And I'd also say Eddie Pinheiro has been a large part of that. Eddie Pinheiro only had 1 field goal in this game, or right? They have field goal? Or 1 extra point.
One extra point. Yeah,
one extra point. So not much involvement, but you see other guys in special teams, step up a little bit.
I know.
All right. I mean, I'm gonna go with Kittle. Like I did nominate him after all. So yeah, George Kittle, week 8, 49K player of the week, and hopefully, hopefully we got
competition.
Hopefully we got a little more to talk about next week. But was there anyone you wanted to put on notice, or actually, like, I wanted to give flowers really quick. And this is going to be funny too, because it's another special teams contribution. I thought Brian Robinson did a pretty good job on kick returns this week. I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing from him in that regard, and credit to them for making that change and making him the guy. Like, he looked good. He looked like he can maybe. He has a potential to break one. He had a long of 46 in this game. So,
yeah, I mean, look, in an opportune moment, right? You talked about that final drive before the half where they put up points. That was part of it, right? Getting a big drive and then the face mask on the tackle, and then you move the ball, boom, boom. Next thing you know, you're in the end zone, and it's 16-7 versus 16-0, if not worse, going into halftime. So it was a big spot, a big moment. I feel like he's getting his feet underneath him as a kick returner, right? Where it's like, I felt like every time he touched the ball in previous weeks, like it was guaranteed that we were starting inside our own 20 when he pull it out. But I think he's understanding it's a totally different concept versus running through these tight little holes, these big windows that can close real fast when people are coming full speed. But that was big. I don't know if I think my flowers were more like, when I was rattling off some names on some people that I saw like make some plays.
Yeah.
But I also would say, like, put on notice, like, Jair Brown, I do think, regardless of Robert Saleh's talk, I think this is only tolerable for a couple more weeks if it doesn't improve before. Why would you just not go to the rookie? You know what I mean?
At least Marquez Siegel is in position. Like,
Yeah.
at least he's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Like,
and he tackles better.
Yeah, I would agree. So I think that's kind of my and just the offensive line. Like, Jesus, God Almighty, it's so bad.
I mean, even Trent, struggled
Even
with Will
Trent.
Anderson quite a bit. So we'll see how he looks this week. We were talking about the Giants' defensive line. They're pretty good and they're pretty deep as well. So
For sure.
it will be tough again. And yes, the 49ers did get their first interception in 13 games. So, we gotta give some flowers to that, I guess. A little too long. But
Wow.
that's what we got. And next week we're gonna be at the game, right, Weston, in New York, watching this one.
That's the dirty rumor that we will both be there, apparently. I heard even sitting in the same section, Steph. Is that true?
Maybe even next to each other.
Weirder things have happened.
It should be a really good time, all things considered. I mean, even if the 49ers look like they did yesterday, I'm going to have a good time.
Sure.
And there's going to be a lot of great people there. So can't wait for it. And make sure you guys like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Not just mine, but Weston's as well. Hit that notification bell so you know when I go live next. Tomorrow we got Bully Ball. And Jay and Rob also going to be at the game too. So we got the whole contingent stepping out in New York. But audio listeners, make sure you leave a rating, leave a review. For now, folks, peace.